LLMs now offer a way for doctors to interact with whatever is being published in the clinical world.
Chatbot for farmers, which is PM Kisan chatbot, get 30,000 translation requests every day.
Actually, language models, Gen AI, can unlock existing data sets.
Thank you very much, Exhibitions India, for having us here. And we are in the company of some of the most renowned experts, mentors, and stalwarts from the industry. And we'll keep it sector focused. We have representation from a lot of sectors here. People who have actually worked on solutions that have been deployed and have been running successfully. And we all know about AI, so I'll just build on what has already been discussed about LLMs and how the actual practical use cases have been thought of, how those have been deployed, what are the challenges that they faced while deploying such solutions. Also, are there any key learnings from the entire journey? We have taken a leap of faith when it comes to AI. So we'll learn more about that. Anything that the speakers would like to add on to these topics, I'd really appreciate that. I'll start with Amitabh sir. Sir, Bhashini has been the flavor of the season. It's been so right since the onset of COVID. And I think a lot of government applications utilize that. And I think with more and more language supports coming into the picture, the horizon will only widen. So how has your journey been? Why did you think, why the organization thought that there was a need of such a solution? And a few of the considerations that you took into account while developing this, because a lot of plug and play would happen. I mean, that's been one of the major challenges with regards to government applications, how those government applications interlink with each other, communicate with each other, what's the interoperability, whether what we are developing now are going to be standalone applications or can be easily plugged and can be utilized. How has your journey been with Bhashini? And now that it has attained a lot of maturity in this transition, what are the plans ahead in terms of Bhashini, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here. And of course, the journey of Bhashini as such, which was coined as Bhasha Interface for India, has been a journey which has been a collaborative journey. So initially, when we started off looking at it, it was basically an emerging technology. And emerging technology would essentially mean that not enough resources and skills are available. So we tapped into what is there in the research institutes and educational institutes. We had those built up as consortiums for us. So we have partnership with about 70 odd higher education institutes and research institutes in the country. We divided the problem statements into 8 projects, and the problem statements were basically related to automatic speech recognition, text-to-text translation, text-to-speech, and of course optical character recognition, and building the data dictionary for the country. So this entire problem statement, which was about 22 languages to start off with, so we built up the models in partnership with those institutes. Of course, when we were building this up, we had a challenge that not enough digital data was available for many of the languages. About 15 odd languages didn't have initial data. So how do you train the AI model if you don't have digital data? So we went on a very unique exercise of creating the digital data. So we had an application which had a picture on the mobile. They went to the field. We had about 200 translators working on the field. They talked to the people, asked them to speak in or write in their own language about the picture, and then we translated. That's how we created the digital data which was there. The other challenge was, of course, to diversify the data, because to ensure that all the words of the language actually comes into the picture. So there again, we had a challenge of how do we capture all the conversation, a conversation between teacher and student, a conversation between two friends, a conversation between two colleagues in IT industry and say civil engineering industry, these are all going to be different, which have different vocabularies. So we had to work on through all of this, and glad that we worked through. When we developed all of this, then we had a challenge of delivering these as a service. So we chose the route of creating a service ID and APIs out of it, and built a national platform called National Hub for Language Technology. This platform actually renders these AI models as a service, as APIs. And the initial adoption to a far adoption over a period of time has taken a lot of ups and downs. Initial period was a kind of a period of disbelief as well as a need, because the need was always there. The need was because we have a latent need of expressing ourselves in the mother tongue. And if we are able to express ourselves on the mother tongue rather than on English or any other language, we will be better off to actually, study and talk about it. So that was one of the key reasons why it started gaining popularity. Then, of course, it was AI and it was latest technology, so people started developing applications on it, and we moved ahead. One of the basic reasons why we have been so successful as we have been able to learn from the field, learn from the deployment, and show improvement. So when we went to financial market and asked them to adopt the system, they said that when you translate 100, it will always be talked as HUNDRED. That is the way in which you will capture 100. But we want to capture 100 as 100. So that's when we had the inverse text normalization came in. Then we had a challenge of, people the people living on the other side of the literacy divide. How will they go and choose a language which is written? So then we had automatic language detection coming in. We had unique words in our, in our country, and some of the organizations has brand names. So the brand names have to be put in as a glossary. So even a simple thing like home on a website cannot be translated as ghar. When you are translating it in Hindi, it has to be translated as mukprash. So while the machine is not doing a wrong job by translating home to ghar, but the forced translation is mukprash. That's when we built up glossary, and then we moved on and on. So it's a question of how do you deploy, learn from the market, go back and create utilities, or otherwise train the model backwards. So when we did Kumbh Sahayak chatbot, which was used extensively in Kumbh, we had a challenge of, there was about 440 words which were only associated with Kumbh. Example being Akhada, it is known as Akhada very differently in Kumbh. Later Anuman is a vocabulary of Kumbh and that area itself. So we had 440 such words which had to be actually recognized very differently rather than translation. We also had a challenge when we were putting up the chatbot that there could be profanity which could be spoken to chatbot and that should not get translated. So we created a profanity blocker around it. So, and this has been, kind of on the fly. AI is a technology. If you don't respond in next 24 hours or you don't have a plan for past 24 hours, you are obsolete on that particular day itself. So what has been good about what we have been doing is that we know and our customers accept that AI is an emerging technology and it can only improve if we use it. So they have used it and given us a feedback which has helped us to improve. And it is government organizations which are using it, banks like, even private banks like Federal Bank is using it, the BFSI segment is using it, and we almost have approximately 150 million translation requests a month, which is a huge system for a platform which is approximately 6 months old or so on its prime. We started with 22 languages. We are now on 36 languages as far as text is concerned, and we plan to expand it more as we go by. And of course, 36 languages on text, voice is supposed to come up, and we increasingly will be adding more features which are going to be there on voices. As far as the future things are concerned, we are consistently looking at, we have about 40 or 50 odd narrow use cases on which we have deployed it. The reason why we have deployed it on narrow use cases is to see the success as well as from a benefit angle, that is the customer or the user getting benefit out of it. We found that those have been used extensively. You know, a simple thing like a chatbot for farmers, which is PM Kisan chatbot, get 30,000 translation requests every day. So, you know, you can see the intensity of those narrow use cases on deployment. UIDI uses it 2 million translations requests a day. So again, every Aadhaar card that you use has an imprint of Bhashini on it. So, you know, the idea or the challenge which is there is that it is being used extensively, the feedbacks is being given there. We would have to still focus on narrow use cases because the technology is evolving and we cannot generalize it so easily. But over a period of time, when we are basically gone through that cycle of deploy, learn and redeploy, we would have perhaps, you know, gone through the cusp where we can say, yes, it has gone to a perfection. Ultimately, of course, the focus would remain to create that digital dictionary. Digital dictionary, like for example, today the maps of Survey of India are in 2 languages. They are in Hindi or English. Every pin code is not mapped to 22 languages. So we are working with Survey of India to use the technology to actually map every pin code to 22 languages, and then we will go forward in other languages. Similarly, you know, there are other things which are like still means panchayat. So we went with you know, working with Ministry of Panchayat, the 2.7 lakh villages which are not not known to everybody in the country because there is no digital dictionary which exists about it. So we created that particular thing on that. So we currently would have discovered approximately 500,000 words which are unique to the country as well as to our culture. We perhaps feel that this would go up to 100,000 crore, about a crore words. You know, 5 lakhs will go to a crore words, and then perhaps the dictionary would be complete. And once that is complete, I think it will be a great aid to the LLMs which we are planning to develop, because then it will be able to absorb and evolve the culture which is there. But yes, translation will remain a narrow use case for us for some time, while as a broad or a general AI would actually use this as a basic foundation layer to move forward on it.
Yeah, very insightful. One of the questions that I think everybody would have here is with regards to AI, and that's been the dilemma last few years. India turning into an experimental lab of use cases. A lot of use cases being initiated, but then not taken to fruition, not taken to some tangible fruition. Are we moving too fast, or like you said, 24 hours delay, you're already a day late in the race? So what's your take on this, especially only limiting ourselves to Indian perspective?
See, from an Indian perspective, are you becoming a use case experimentation ground, or are you taking it forward? See, at the end of the day, you know, the use cases are for us is not a general use case. It's not like ask, grow. You know, for fun's sake, you are asking some question and you get an answer. You love it, you may not love it. It goes into the thing. Here, the use cases are basically benefiting people, right? So if I say that Honorable PM transfers 2,000 rupees in PM Kisan Samman Nidhi every 3 months, and my chatbot actually can help you to find a reason why or when your next installment is going to come, or why is that it has not come. It's a direct benefit. You can't do away with it to say that, okay, it is there tomorrow. If we had developed for Kumbh the chatbot, it will be used in Nasik, it will be used in Ujjain, it will be used in Bhubaneswar for Jagannath temple. So it's not a question of experimentation. Experimentation is happening somewhere else. Here, you know, the skills website, when we made it on 22 languages, it started having 1 lakh hit a day more. right? That's the intensity. So it's not an experimentation which is happening, it's giving benefit, and once the system starts giving benefit, it becomes institutionalized. The challenge which we have is that when the system starts getting institutionalized, the demand starts increasing, the expectations are skyrocketing. It is for us as technologists to look at, can we keep up to that demand? And if we are not able to improve the system to the extent of expectations, then what you're saying is right, that we will, make this as an experimentation lab. Currently, fortunately, we are living up to the expectations, but keeping it on our toes is, of course, the job of the users who should continuously give the feedback.
Sudhanshu, on that note, let me come to you. How do we ensure these guardrails are in place, especially after deployment? And your work with a lot of startups, your work in manufacturing sector, how do you see, ring fencing ourselves needs to be very important. I think during the course of such journeys, such digital transformations, how do you think, what are the guardrails, what are the measures that need to be taken throughout this journey? And it could be on both counts. It could be on technology front, also on the soft element, which is people management, change management, getting the right people trained, having them acquire the right skill sets. How much importance do you think is necessary on those counts? You can talk about the journey that you have had in the last couple of years and the kind of projects that you have done, and what are the focus areas going forward on at your end as well, sir?
Thank you. The journey at the Center of Excellence, IoT and AI, when we started this about 8.5 years back, at that time AI was fundamentally a buzzword, and even the IoT adoption was not really, it was being talked about, but very slow in terms of adoption. Since that time, we have seen the interest growing from the side of the end users, both in the healthcare world as well as in manufacturing, and also beyond that also non-healthcare and non-manufacturing use cases as well. Today, we will want to know more and more about how I can adopt AI. The problem comes that do I have a completely certified or a certain solution which I can adopt? How can I really trust it? The trust part is extremely critical because we have two sides here. One is the technical players, those who have been technology world all through their life. They love technology, they feel comfortable with technology, they live it, sleep, breathe, live technology day in, day out. On the other side are the practitioners like doctors, diagnostic chains, and then of course in the manufacturing world you have plant manager, plant head and others. There is reservation from their side. They have been doing same thing for large number of years. They are not like switching. The doctor, let's say an oncology doctor, even if I take a pathologist for example, they have been examining the slides for many years, and then they have become the expert at spotting the problems there at the moment they look at it, and that's what they have been doing. They have become experts. But then it's not as if that they are changing their approach day in, day out. So it is a consistent thing, and then when they say, okay, this is a completely new technology which will do what you are really doing, and then provide you this result which you can validate, then they say, really? Do you really understand what my job is supposed to be? I mean, how many slides or how many hundreds of slides have you really examined? Do you really understand the pancreas cancer or a tumor slide, for instance? So this trust part, which is extremely critical, it has to be there. When you talk about the guardrails, to me this also falls in the category of trust. That is technology going to remain within the limits that are defined for it, and or is it going to start going outside, learn on its own and then go in different direction. So the guardrails are absolutely critical. I mean, the solution developers have to be able to convince the end users that we are talking about these deliverables in this form, and this is what it's going to be. So you can have the confidence. Technology part, obviously there, and then as part of the process also, as to how you are using it and how much you really trust it. So like In the healthcare sector, again, ultimate decision is in the hand of doctor only, pathologist. The technology cannot make a decision. It only gives recommendation, guidelines, whatever it is. But beyond that, it's a doctor who has to sign off on that. That's a clear-cut guardrail. Same thing goes if we deploy the solutions in the manufacturing sector, where let's say something like vision-based quality inspection, which is an area, and then which deploys quite a bit of AI for the model training and for specific defect identification purpose. Again, similar reservations coming out from the plant managers that is it really going to be able to do that? Is it really going to be able to do with that much of accuracy? Ultimately, it's about trust. It's about their feeling comfortable that yes, if I go ahead and accept this solution, it is going to lead to the improvement for my operation. And then, if the workers at the assembly line do not feel comfortable in adopting the technology, then no matter what you say, I mean, there is a push coming from the top that we should do this because we see a lot of benefits. But ultimately, it's the workers at the assembly line who have to run the operation. And if they are not comfortable with the technology, then its adoption is really going to be patchy at best. The solution which we talk about is that a change management obviously is the part. And then for the users who are there at the end, you say that you are the partner. This is to make your job easier, to make you more efficient so that you can perform better in your job and grow in your career. Unless they become the partner in the technology path, the adoption is not really going to happen. I have talked to multiple manufacturing players also, in some cases having their in-house development team. And the development team, and they all talk about a whole lot of challenges that our people don't like it. If I deploy the cameras, for instance, then they will go and remove the cable and say that camera is not working. So this kind of sabotage situation also comes. Of course, the reasons are different for that, because many times that they are uncomfortable with the transparency that the technology is going to bring. But the point is that unless the people at the operations part, they feel that they are a partner in this, no matter what kind of fancy technologies you build, they are not going to succeed.
Right, sir. Thank you very much.
Did I miss any part or?
No. Okay. I have a follow-up question though.
Yes, please.
I think you have contributed in two of the very niche sectors, especially with regards to IoT to start with. Now moving from IoT, or rather supplement IoT with AI. They are very two niche sectors, and the kind of telematic data that we get from IoTs, we are still struggling with having the right protocols in place. Do you think there is a skill gap? You think there's not enough talent available, ready talent that can be utilized? Or is there a need to go really big on skill development, especially with regards to new technology, the disruptive technologies that we have been witnessing?
Skill is absolutely necessary. I mean, there have been enough studies in the market which say that we need a large number of skilled persons who can handle these new technologies. In fact, this is one of the reasons for the reservation on part of the users to adopt the technology part. That do I have the sufficient number of skilled persons in-house to be able to handle all these things that the people are talking about? Because again, it comes as a part of the trust part, that technologists talk in a certain language, the users talk in a different language, and where is the merging of it? So skilling is absolutely one part. NESCOM has a program, Future Skill Prime, which is being supported by the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and the objective of that program is to do the reskilling, skilling and reskilling. So it's the reskilling part which is more important. Skilling is there, definitely, but then it is more from the perspective of the newer solution development. But then when we talk about their adoption in the operations of the legacy industries like manufacturing and healthcare, it's a reskilling part. Those who are already there, they have to start feeling comfortable with the technology, and it's absolutely crucial. Whatever growth we have had till now, since 90s and 2000s and up to this, about 25 odd years of the IT industry growth, the base was built in 80s and 70s through all those various colleges and the IITs. But now this whole thing is shifting, and yes, you have to have the skilled person, otherwise there is absolutely no way to move forward.
Mr. Arpan, I think you work across the sectors. You cater to a lot of diverse sectors, work with a wide range of stakeholders at different levels, different hierarchies. Of course, there's I won't say language barrier, there's language diversity as well. Would you concur with Mr. Mittal about the skilling, reskilling part, and also how to have a workforce that's very flexible, can hit the ground running and adapt to the ever-changing scenarios in terms of the technology introduction and also adoption? And please do take us through your journey as well as to what Vadhvani as group has been doing in the last few years, and what's the road ahead, what are the priority sectors, and how do you see AI specifically contributing a whole lot to this?
Yeah. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Okay. So first, thank you for inviting me here. I'll take your second question first. So we are, Vadhvani AI is a non-profit. We work on AI for social impact among underserved communities in India. And we work in a number of areas, in public health, in agriculture, and in public education. But we're also expanding into areas like climate change and the effects of climate change, and how you might use AI to mitigate or at least measure some of these effects, as well as smart cities. So I think, since this panel is about AI in action, I think there is absolutely tremendous potential as far as AI use cases are concerned. We have about 30 projects going on, and that's just because we are limited by our bandwidth and our manpower and resources in terms of how much work we can do. But the number of problems that can be solved are huge, right? Massive. The data sets that are needed to solve these problems also exist. They are of varying quality, but they do exist. And now with technologies like LLMs, you can also do automatic cleaning of data, automatic reformatting of data, putting data in structured form for use in downstream AI models, right? So this is a huge capability that I don't know if people are aware of, but this is something that we didn't have earlier, that exists earlier, that actually language models, Gen AI, can unlock existing data sets for other types of AI work. So this is a bit of a digression, but now in terms of the reason we are so gung-ho about what we do is because we exist in this country that is so incredibly diverse, right? You mentioned it's an experimentation lab of sorts. I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a good thing because we are learning from experiments. I mean, we are constantly working with models on the ground. Through that, we get feedback. As Amitabh ji was also mentioning, you have to work with the situation that exists on the ground. So your models have to stick. In order for them to stick, you have to make sure that the users are comfortable with the AI. If they're not comfortable, you have to ensure that they are made comfortable through reskilling and so on, change management and so on. And we have several examples of this across our projects. I mean, I can give you one example where, a number of the challenges around AI sort of converge. But that's what also makes it very interesting and exciting. One of the projects we are working on is estimating a baby's weight using video. And this is in a rural community setting, in a rural home, in a village home, where the lighting conditions are poor, where you don't have a clean room in which to place the baby. Baby is just placed on a piece of cloth that can be of any color, poor lighting conditions. Asha worker goes into the house, takes a short video of the baby at various angles so that the AI gets some idea of depth, and then it estimates the weight. And as far as the technical work is concerned, we've got the error down to roughly 100, 110 grams, which is great. It's very usable in the field. We've done a number of field studies. But the challenges are of two kinds. The challenges are not the AI. The challenges are on the two ends of the AI. One is data collection, which is the first end that you need to fix in order to build the AI in the first place. And the second is around adoption and scaling, right? these are the two major challenges. Data collection itself was a huge challenge for this project because, and something we didn't anticipate, that illiterate mothers would be so concerned about privacy, because we are taking a video of their baby in order to train this AI. They were extremely concerned about privacy. They had no knowledge of all the ethical issues around AI. They didn't know how to read, but their first question was, where are you storing this video of my baby? So this was a learning, right? And then we had to fix our systems to make sure that the videos are deleted after inference. We also had to make sure that for training data, a very limited set of people, namely annotators, actually see baby faces. Even our AI scientists and engineers don't see the faces of these babies. The AI model does see it, however. We couldn't get around that. That's still a challenge that we are working on. But so you can see some of these challenges around data collection, and then for deployment, it's the ASHA worker who is going to use this, and the ASHA worker needs to be reskilled. They are used to weighing babies using a weighing scale, a spring balance based weighing scale, so their entire workflow changes. Now, our hypothesis is that their workflow actually gets easier because of this, which it does, but you still have to do reskilling. So these are the types of challenges when you try to put AI in action on the ground that you will face across the country. But that's also what makes working in applied problems a very unique thing, very exciting thing, and you actually learn from this. You can do research on this. We publish papers where we've got best paper awards at the top ML machine learning conferences in the world. So it's not like by doing applied research or being sort of solution or application focused, you're going away from fundamental problems, fundamental technical problems. You have to do a lot of clever things to make these things work on the ground. So that is one. The second, on skilling, I totally agree with what's been said before. You need to do a lot of reskilling for people to be able to use AI comfortably. And for that, you need good interfaces to the AI. You don't need users of AI to actually understand how AI works, but the interfaces. Say you're using AI through a mobile phone. If it could be a chatbot, could be a computer vision application. The interfaces should be clean, should be easy to use, so that people develop a sense of trust, develop a sense of comfort. It should be as transparent as possible. Errors need to be controlled, and then you need things like human in the loop. Even the human you have in the loop should be expert enough to be able to figure out how to correct AI errors, right? So this type of skilling. And in addition, of course, building these AI models, you need a workforce. We have the raw talent in India across our various technical institutes, but I think we do need to focus a lot more on fundamentals. I think there's a lot of excitement around creating a lot of AI degrees, BTech in AI, BTech in data science, and so on, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think also fundamentals in mathematics, statistics, fundamentals of computer science are very important. That will be of good stead to people in the long run, because algorithms are going to come and go. Today, large language models, transformer-based algorithms are hot. A year from now, things could look totally different. We have quantum computing coming up on the horizon. We need a workforce that's able to not just deal and adapt with these new technologies, but actually create them, right? And that's where fundamentals are important.
You also spoke about computational biology. I mean, that's a very interesting term. And the moment you talk about biology, the profiling, whether it's demographic or biometric, those come into picture. How do you address that? Because privacy is one of the key concerns. Almost everything that we do or plan to do, I mean, that is one of the most important tenets that are usually considered. And with DPDP coming into picture, how do you see that change? Would it become a deterrent, or would it make it just more organized and...
Yeah, so I think if you have an AI model that uses PII information, it's almost by definition not a good model, right? You should not be using PII information. Our organization doesn't even ingest PII into the organization. We remove PII at source. Of course, there's mechanisms to figure out personal information from other types of aggregate data, and that does need to be addressed. But I think this is an issue for clinical applications for sure. For public health applications, it is an issue, but it's not as important an issue, I would say, because there you're trying to solve population scale problems at scale. You're trying to prevent disease more than cure it. You're trying to screen early for disease. And so PII characteristics don't come into play at all in most of the work we do. There's limited cases where it does come into the play, where you have to have very strong safeguards. But in general, I think just the positive aspects of what AI can achieve in the development space to address the sustainable development goals, for example, so far outweigh the negative issues around privacy concerns and so on, that I think that we do need to drive up adoption and be much quicker about adopting these technologies and getting used to them.
Let me come to Mr. Rajagopal. Mr. Rajagopal spoke a lot about clinical data, healthcare data, of course, that he works with. Clinical data, is that a consideration, privacy? And most of the times when we look at AI, we talk about solutions for the world. Are there ways at Narayan Health that you come from? Are there ways, are there avenues where AI can possibly be used or has been used in your case in increasing or optimizing the internal efficiency as well? Could be across processes, HR process, finance process. Are there any initiatives that have been taken? What has been your journey like? And because you would interact with people both outside the ecosystem and within the ecosystem as well. How have been the approaches? How different have been the approaches? What are some critical success factors, so to say, to ensure that any such initiative based on AI or any disruptive technology meets the kind of success that it's envisaged for?
First of all, very happy to be participating in this event and speaking here. When we talk about hospitals and AI, the first place that our mind goes to is clinical AI. But as you rightly pointed out, there is a lot to be done on the operational side as well. The problem that we are trying to solve as, say, a global health system is to bring in everyone in the world's population into the ambit of accessible healthcare. After spending what we do as a global economy, which is close to $10 trillion every year, less than 50% of the world's population has access to good quality healthcare, which means the other 50% is completely left out. And we as a global economy may not have another $10 trillion to spend to bring all of them into the ambit of healthcare. And even if we did, it would take entail a lot of lead time for you to build up the infrastructure, for you to build up the clinical staff that can address the healthcare challenges of the world. So what can help bridge this gap? That is the core problem that we are trying to solve as a global health system. That is where we see AI and digital transformation playing a key role. With the current infrastructure that we have, with the current clinical staff we have, can we address the population, can we address the health concerns of the remaining 50% of the healthcare population is the core challenge that we are trying to address. With that in mind, on the operations side, we are trying to see what all of the non-core activities that happen in a hospital or using the bandwidth of a health system can be eliminated or be outsourced to technology and AI. The main activity that happens in hospitals, it is waiting. People sit in different areas of the hospital. So you will find many waiting rooms. People sit and wait in the hospital for something to happen. Can we cut down all of this waiting time first? What all activities contribute to people sitting and waiting at hospitals, so that the infrastructure that you have put up can be utilized to treat more patients in the same bandwidth. When you look at what, with the more recent advent of LLMs over the last 2 to 3 years, what has happened? What all can it do? What all can it take over to eliminate all of these non-core activities from the hospital? First of all, in terms of people sitting and waiting in hospitals, it is predictability. Secondly, with respect to the doctor-patient interaction, Now, we often see the patient walks into the doctor's office with a huge bundle of clinical records from their past interactions. Do you think the doctor has time to actually go through all of that and understand anything meaningful? It is very difficult for the doctor to be able to do that. So what LLMs can solve today is to be able to summarize it, is to be able to fetch information from such records very, very quickly. The second area that LLMs can help in is helping the doctors diagnose effectively and plan treatments better. In many cases, we see that there are a lot of new things that gets published on the in the clinical world on a daily basis, and it is very difficult for a clinician to keep up to date with all of it. So LLMs now offer a way for doctors to interact with whatever is being published in the clinical world, to assess accuracy of all of that and to plan treatments also better. The third area that it helps in the doctor-patient interaction or in the hospital interaction with the patient is documentation. Around 40% of the time in a hospital goes towards documentation. Documentation is essentially summarizing the conversation that the patient or the doctor or any other clinical staff has had in a particular format and putting it into a system. So to a large extent, we've had AI intervene in all of these areas to assist our healthcare staff. And we've been able to save a lot of time over here. Specifically on the core clinical areas, AI will take time to penetrate and be institutionalized. Because as Mr. Amitabh was also earlier saying, finally the doctor is the person that we are holding accountable. And we as patients also would like to hold someone accountable for what is being planned for us and what is being rendered for us. When the onus is on the doctor to be accountable, then explainability becomes critical, trust becomes critical. And AI will always, in the near future, play a role in decision support and in assisting doctors, but not in automating clinical decisions. And see, actually AI on the health side came in with a lot of hype, and that has been there for over a decade now. We all started wearing smartwatches, around 10 years or at least 5-6 years back, and we said health will be hyper-personalized with that. But everyone I know has a daily target of 10,000 steps. No difference. So there is a lot of hype that is there. Adoption will take time, especially in core clinical areas where explainability becomes very, very critical.
That brings me to the next question, and it's a follow-up question. I think one of the key concerns or apprehensions around AI is how effectively and what's the efficacy of the explanation behind the AI. What are the kind of results or outcomes that are derived from AI? Especially in medical field, I think that obtains a lot of importance as to what's being derived out of, like you said, a lot of documents, paper documents in place. So once the AI reads it, ingests it, and kind of give you an interpretation, how do you attach a credibility to it? I mean, especially in the healthcare sector, medical sector, I mean, that's one of the key aspects. People go there with a trust, like you said, there's a trust factor. So how trustworthy is the explainable AI, and how effective is the explainable AI? I think as long as it's explainable, it would instill that confidence in both the doctors and the patient as well. What's your view on that?
Right. See, explainability is a big challenge, and what we mean by explainability is also important. One of the models that we were developing was on risk scoring for patients. And the model would come up with a risk score for every patient in the hospital. Now we took it to doctors to get their feedback on whether we are going in the right direction. And what we think of as explainability in technical terms, which is maybe telling which features of the model are most important, or which are the independent variables that are most important to them. That doesn't mean much to the doctor. The model said a particular patient is at very high risk. Now the doctor says this patient is perfectly healthy. He's sitting and he's eating, he's conversing. Your model is saying the patient is at high risk, and these are the parameters because of which the model is saying the patient is at high risk. As a clinician, what do I do now? That doesn't mean anything to me. To my eyes, he's healthy. So explainability is much more than mathematical explainability of it. Even with the advent of LLMs now, even in image analytics in healthcare, now you can have multimodal models which work on clinical images and can give you an interpretation of the image, and you will be able to converse with the image. One model that we were experimenting with from an external organization for interpretation of chest x-rays. The model had the ability to identify 150 different abnormalities in chest x-rays. Now, chest x-ray is the most common modality that happens in a hospital. Every health checkup, almost many of the OPDs and a lot of your inpatients go through chest x-rays, which means it is a huge workload for the doctors. That is why we wanted to evaluate a model that can reduce their workload to a large extent by assisting them. Now, 95 to 98% of the chest x-rays are normal. Only around 2% are abnormal. And if the model can identify this, it can bring down the workload a lot. But because this model was trained to identify 150 different abnormalities, it practically identified a small abnormality with every chest x-ray. And the doctors told us that now you have actually increased our workload. Because earlier I thought this x-ray is normal. Now the model is telling me there is something abnormal with every x-ray. And again, in terms of explainability, it would maybe draw a heat map around a particular area and saying this is why I say it is abnormal. So explainability still has a long way to go. With LLMs, now that improves a little because you can still have a conversation with LLMs. But again, we'll have to see where the line is in the doctor having a conversation with an LLM on every chest x-ray or every use case. So trust of the model has to improve a lot along with explainability for it to come into mainstream adoption.
Fair enough. We have heard Amitabh sir on Bhashini. I mean, that's a part of our lives on a lot of counts. We also have with us Mr. Golak. I'm sure you all have heard about the passport Seva. It used to take several months, at times a year and a half, sir, to get the passport issued.
No, 6 months almost.
Back, yeah. Now we have been able to expedite it to a large extent. He's the brain behind it. Sir, you must have also experimented with a lot of technologies, and I think last 10 years from blockchain to AR, VR to now AI. I think AI has, in comparison to other technologies, gained a lot of traction. For a project like ePassport Seva, what's the plan ahead, sir, and how do you plan to leverage AI specifically in case that's a scenario for a Passport Seva program, or extend it to other similar programs like last few years, DigiYatra has learnt a lot from the established projects like ePassport Seva Aadhaar. Any other exciting things in the offing, in the pipeline that you'd like us to learn about? And also the perennial question, is AI going to replace humans in most of the scenarios, especially with regards to the workforce? If not replace, will it make it redundant for a lot of people to continue? So your thoughts on that, sir?
Thank you, Abhishek. I think let me at the outset thanks the Exhibition India Group and the organization for having me here. I think very pertinent questions when you ask that how are we leveraging such kind of a emerging sense, including AI in the government. Let me also make very clear saying that AI alone will not do. I think along with AI there are other emerging technology which has to be added into the when you are bringing such kind of a transformation, such kind of an impact towards public life. But let me bring it to a bigger perspective when we are talking about these kind of a scale at large. For an example, I could multiply from in the year somewhere 2010, we are issuing around 5.5 million passport. Today, I am issuing almost 16 million passport. We stand globally number 3rd. But then you all can think, how is it possible? Again, as you rightly said, maybe earlier a citizen is waiting for the passport, let's say anything between 3 to 6 months. But then today you go to my passport Seva Kendra, and probably even before you reach home back, after submitting your application, there will be a SMS in your mobile, especially on Tatkal cases, saying that your passport is in print queue. Now citizens are really getting surprised, saying that is it possible? I have not even reached home, and you are saying that no, your passport is in print queue. How could be it possible? No. Sometimes they are calling, is it a hoax message I am giving from your system? But then how have we done that? And since we are discussing about impact of AI, leveraging of AI, having lot of adversities of AI together into consideration, I think to start with, all of us, whether we come from government or you all come from industry side, someone from academia, we have to develop 3 strategy when you deal with this kind of a LLMs, AI as a tool or any of such. And the first and foremost strategy is the data strategy. Most of the time what we are finding is that strategy is completely missing. I do not even understand my data set, what is it that I am collecting, is it a PII data, is it a public data, is it a configurable data? No, I am totally clueless. So the starting point is develop a data strategy where you exactly know what kind of data I am dealing, what kind of data I am feeding to the model for training, right? If you are losing control there, I think everything going forward, like our colleague was saying that you may go wrong, you learn somewhere else. So the initial is the data strategy, and especially as you rightly said, after DPDP law and all coming into picture, the AI must know, saying that even if I am collecting some, let me quote an example. Many of us, you might have seen that if let's say some government department is asking a spouse card, Aadhaar card of your spouse to you, what do you exactly do? You don't even ask your spouse, and simply you share the copy of Aadhaar card of your spouse with the government department, right? Have you taken an exclusive consent? No, you have not taken exclusive consent of the principal owner of the data. Just because you are a spouse, so you have shared that data with somebody else, right? So these kind of problems, I think DPDP having into place will create much more kind of a issue for all of us, and we need to understand if there is a consent mechanism I am building while collecting the data, is it a exclusive consent, is it a indirect consent, what kind of consent I am giving, and what is the applicability per se, right? So these will all come under your data strategy, and then while you are building the data strategy, I think the other important very fact is, are you aligning with your compliances, regulations and law of the land? That is where another missing point we are generally finding when you are devising the data strategy. The second strategy is the governance strategy. Now, even if you have defined your data strategy, the governance is completely missing. And when I say governance, I mean who is accessing what, who is authorizing what purpose you are dealing that data, or what purpose you are harnessing that data, and is it governed as per the business rule which you feel you should have. Those business rules are not aligned with neither your workload, nor your workforce, nor your workflow, that is the applications, nor the workspace from wherever you are dealing, whether it is a on-cloud model, on-prem model, hybrid model, none of them are aligned to the governance model. So that is the very another important point which we have built in Passport Seva. And third and very important thing is, which as we are rightly saying, ultimately if something goes wrong, you are training a model, but let's say that AI is giving the other side of the AI. Where do you land? You land into the court of law, right? So are you really guarded against the compliances, regulations and law of the land? Now having said those three things, then you start building AI applications, real-time use cases, real-world use cases. And when I see the real-time use cases or real-world use cases, again I divide into three categories, which I generally call 3 I's. And what is the first I? First I is the innovation. How much you can innovate. Today, whatever I have done, whether all of these big programs, why should I only name Passport Seva? There are a lot of innovation has been gone ahead. Whether I am engaging a industry, whether I am devising between my sovereign and non-sovereign data, whether I am developing a business model, everywhere there is a innovation out of it, right? Whether I am harnessing this kind of a technology, what is that I am doing for that purpose, right? So lot of innovative component one need to build, and that is the first I. The second is the impact. What kind of impact we are looking? It's just not merely using some model, some AI tool. It's about the impact you are creating on the real world. As I rightly said, if I am dealing with my citizens, whether you apply from Delhi, Mumbai or Chennai, doesn't matter, or a poor villager standing off a corner of a village somewhere in UP, Bihar or Jharkhand, I don't make any difference. How is that possible? Again, there are a lot of, like our colleague Amitabh ji was saying, whether it is a linguistic barrier, whether it is a literacy barrier, whether it is a demography barrier, economic conditions, all of them at a scale can we deal. So that kind of impact can we create, right? And since we are talking about government, it's large government we have, it's not a small area to deal. We are dealing with more than 1.4 billion of people, having so much of a variety in terms of demography, geography, literacy, education, economic conditions, as I said, right? Then the third area is integration. So 2 is I, innovation, impact, and third is integration. When you deal with integration, you have to deal with a lot of legacy. Whether I am dealing with some of the data structure, data sets I am receiving from the legacy system, how are I am converting those data sets, those legacies, bringing into insights, training the model, and then taking it forward. Or there is a legacy technology which I am adapting and harnessing forward, integrating with advanced technologies, right? So all of them together, I find these three things on the data side, these three things on the real life use cases. So if you can develop such kind of use case, I think
Right,
that
sir.
works first.
In fact, I agree with you. Technology is one of the most effective tools to usher in equity, also equal opportunity. I mean, that's what we've been doing. And with such solutions at play, a lot of DPIs, DPGs, and India is at the forefront of it. I'm sure there are only exciting times. There's a lot of apprehensions, a little bit of reluctance as well around AI per se. But I'm sure with the right set of people and with stalwarts like you, mentors like you, we are moving in the right direction. So quickly, I don't think we have the time to take the questions. We are grappling with a paucity of time. So I'll just take this opportunity to conclude the session, and thank you very much for your presence here. It was really an enlightening session, and I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways that we'll take from here and possibly work on those. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So thanking all our panelists for sharing these use cases, real application of AI across sectors and solving some of the challenges, and so specific to India. So thank you very much for that. Thanking Mr. Amitabh Nag. Thank you. Our expression thanks to Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal. Thanking Mr. Alban Raval. Our gratitude to Mr. Vivek Rajagopal. Appreciation to Mr. Golak Simli.